Hi, am I on? I am feeling like I'm coming down from a high of my other art fair, the other art fair, not my other art fair. It was my first art fair, called the Other Art Fair in Melbourne, and I really just want to take a nap at the moment, but at the same time I don't want to do the typical coming down from a really massive high kind of thing. I want to integrate all the stuff, be gentle and kind to myself, but at the same time not forget all the lessons that I have learnt. And as a lesson for you, if you ever have an amazing experience and you feel like you've up-leveled in your work or in your calling, in whatever part of your life, you don't actually have to come back down. One of the things we forget to do when you're really in it is to take everything that you've learned, both the good and the bad, and then really integrate that so that you don't have to repeat it again next time. So I thought I wanted to come on, even though I really wanted to have a nap, to just share my lessons. I was going to write this out, but I'm just in that procrastinating mood. And so I want to still take advantage of some baby free time and just share my lessons. So I have written notes a while back. So if you stay till the end, it's mainly lessons that I really want to learn, remember, for just specifically for the art fair, but really it was about showing up and about your energy and the way you really show up, not just for yourself, but for your art and for your calling and in life in general. And I hope you'll find this valuable, even if you're not traditionally creative like me or like showing at another art fair. So if you don't know me, I'm Brenda Mangalore. I make art. There's one of them. It's all empty walls at the moment because most of them had sold, and which is really awesome. I got 8 new collectors at the art fair, so that was amazing. I was just happy to just have one. But my call as an artist is not just to create paintings and just pretty artwork. I want to create more than that, and my call is to inspire ambitious, creative, spiritual women to live a life of joyful purpose, and that's what I try to do in my life as well as in my art, as well as showing up for these videos. And I believe that if you have something within you that's calling you, and for your next chapter, and that you want more than just where you're at, especially if you're a Muse Mama like me. And a Muse Mama is someone who wants more than where they're at. Their kids don't need them as much anymore, and they feel this urge to not just settle for the status quo, but to really rise up to their next chapter, whatever that is. And if you're actually looking for a space to connect with that calling and connect with other creative mamas who want to find the clarity of what their next steps is, and to find the courage to actually take that next step and to really connect and cultivate their creativity, because they know that's going to be the seed and the core and the heart of their life, really, then definitely hashtag below Muse Mama, and I will get you details to get into that community. It's a nice little space that I collected because I know I can't do showing up for my art fair, if you haven't seen on my Facebook page, while I have a 10-month-old at home, and those paintings I made while she was still a baby and putting her in my sling and all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't have done that without not just family support, but a community of other amazing women who are thriving and striving towards their big dreams and their next chapter, while still knowing that that stuff isn't selfish, is actually making you be the best person you can be, so you can show up for your kids as the best mama you can be, as opposed to just sacrificing and suffering and all that kind of stuff that society kind of subtly tell us that's what mums are supposed to do. Anyway, I came on here. So if you don't know, you haven't seen my Facebook lives before, if you're on with me live, definitely say hi and comment hashtag yay live, so that I know you're on. All your comments and all your heart showers and all that stuff really boosts up these videos and really helps me with my work, and then we can share out these videos to more people, especially if they want to learn lessons about creativity that's from me, which I believe really applies to the rest of your life and in other ways, because I don't separate my creativity and my work from my life, because it is all part of the same package and same story. So yes, let's get to the lessons. I'm really in like procrastinating, distant, fickle, sparkle mode, as my mastermind sister Carly Marie says. Hashtag soul modes below if you would like to learn more, and I will link you to her stuff. It's amazing about honoring your the different women that's in you, and knowing what you need in order to be as productive as you can, even when you're procrastinating like me. And I actually talked about this inside Muse Mama, where I had 2 different videos about how to get stuff done, especially when you're totally fully overwhelmed, or when you're not feeling like doing anything and you're procrastinating, like what I'm doing right now, even though I'm supposed to be talking about lessons. And I talk about my 333 method in there, and one of my things is to create and to communicate daily. And so even though I don't feel like it and I'm not in the mood, I'm showing up here because I know it would boost and continue to cultivate my creativity, so that I can show up when I am in the mood and be able to come out guns blazing, I guess is the term, to really unleash the artwork that's just waiting to be unleashed. So first lesson that I really learned throughout the whole art fair, this art fair was just 100 selected artists. There was I think it was probably a few thousand people that applied, and then 100 people got selected to who are unrepresented, so we don't have galleries that represent us, and we're self-represented, which I kind of like. And we had stalls, and we basically, it was opened over from Thursday night till Sunday, and people could come and just buy work direct from the artist. And the big thing I really noticed and really learnt during that 4 days, and I feel really added to not just my, I guess, success, but my enjoyment, and what the value I really got from it was this energy. The energy was everything, and I came with it in such a true gratitude heart. Like, I was just so grateful that I made it, as in I managed to show up dressed, left the house, you know, organize all the logistics with babies and babysitting, and get all the paintings up, and I managed to get some paintings done, you know, like last minute was like finishing still, you know, 4 days out from it, all of them framed and photographed and then hung them up, and the logistics of it, and I was just so grateful to just be there. So I was actually really excited, versus there were some artists there who were just, you know, like feeling like, oh, and counting down the minutes. And it was just like, I think that really affected not just the way you show up for people, but also the way you show up for yourself, right? Like when you're in this deep sense of gratitude and just excitement, even if though I was tired, and the 2 nights before Bumpy and Ray, my 10-month-old just like refused to sleep throughout the night, and she needed to be fed for no reason, even though she'd been sleeping through the night for the last few months. And so, you know, I had like 3-4 hours sleep total, and kind of coughing my way through it, and yet still feeling fully energized from the excitement and the gratitude. So I guess one thing I really want to remember for myself, you know, note to self, future self, when I do an art fair again, because I would love to do it again, is to make sure I maintain that energy of gratitude and just feeling excited, and just feeling that there's no other word really, gratitude. And it's one of the things, I think I talk about this all the time, and I hope I do, that even when you feel like you don't want to do it, and how do you show up, and how do you, especially when you're hitting resistance or sabotage with your work, or feeling stuck in your creativity, if you can tap back to that spirit of gratitude, and just to notice the things around you that are blessings, and you feel amazing, then from that place you can then decide what your next steps are, and that next step will be more aligned to what you're hoping for than if you came from a spirit of, oh, I can't be bothered, and I'm so tired, and all the things, and it just becomes this negative spiral. But yeah, one thing I wanted to learn, that even though with that excitement and stuff, I was still a bit nervous, and I had hoped to do more Facebook Lives in there, though there is one I have, you can see on my page where I did it live on the spot, but I hope to do more next time, and to talk to the other artists as well, and not be afraid to really show up on video, and to just show up and be more confident. And I think that's what I want, a lesson that I learned as well, because one of the successes that I felt I got, and the value that I got from the art fair, was this sense of being affirmed in my voice, and my painting, and my color choices, and in my style, but also just confidence in being more confident in where I want to do, and the way I want to show up, and stuff like that. And so I want to add to that and keep adding to it, and that's how you grow as well, right? And second lesson was for me mainly bring more. I wrote here, bring more postcards, bring all of them. I actually had enough postcards, but I didn't bring all of them, and that's the confidence factor again, where I just didn't think I was going to be able to be giving out that many postcards. Who's going to want them? Well, actually a lot of people do, and it does help, and it's a way of connecting and a great conversation starter. So if you're in sales, you need to be able to make that connection, be able to make conversation and stuff. And it was such an easy way of doing it, especially if you're an introvert like me, to just be talking to complete strangers who are looking at art, and you know, that awkward like, oh hi, you know, and yeah, so it was, I should bring more postcards. So Brenda of the future, make sure you bring all the postcards, and trust that, and have the confidence that you're going to be able to use them all, and it will be needed, and have more confidence in yourself, really. One of the other lessons is, I'm not going to be able to cover them all because I'm going to be rambling on forever, and I don't want to be rambling. This is supposed to be a quick live video, but I wanted to share the value, and one of them was part of the confidence factor is also knowing my story and knowing what my inspiration and knowing answers to questions that most people would ask. And so for the art fair, for me was, you know, what's my inspiration, what's my story, what's the paintings about. You know, I work in abstracts, but there is concepts and topics that I'm really exploring and that kind of stuff, and being confident in sharing that story really helped to connect with collectors and potential collectors and people who just loved my work and wanted to deepen their connection to it. And so I didn't just come out of the gate knowing what to say and how to share that story. I really tweaked and added to it and learnt it over time. So so I guess the idea is to embrace the imperfection. Hashtag definitely below, embrace imperfection, if you resonate with that, and just so that I know that you're listening. And also this helps mark this point of the video for me, embrace imperfection. So I started, you know, awkwardly sharing, I know what my inspirations are and I know what the stories are behind my work. I might actually do a video on that, note to self. But the way I explained it and the way I was succinct about it, say hi if you're on, I'm just sharing lessons from the art fair, and hoping that it's valuable to apply for your life, whether or not you do traditional art, but just, you know, creativity, but really about just showing up for your work and just for yourself, really. And so knowing that story, I tweaked it over the 4 days, right? I got down to it, I was able to do it in like 1 or 2 minutes and really pick up what was really interesting for people and what really resonated, what really connected them to the work from conversation and from that feedback. But the only way I was doing that was by just starting out with awkward stories and saying certain things, and then just having that glazed look that they have when they're like, I don't get what that means. And then, you know, learning from that and then doing it again, and until I was, so by the time, I think on the 3rd day, they do art tours throughout the fair, and one of them, they came down to my stall, and so then, you know, there's like 30 of them just standing around with the tour guide, and then I had to do a little presentation of my work. By then I kind of already had it on sync, and it was a little easy already by then, because I already done, you know, 20-30 times with people who, you know, kept, oh, what's the inspiration? Your work is so lovely. So instead of just saying, oh, it's about my heart and my intuition and about color, like, so I had certain stories to share, and I had specific elements that I could use to piece it together so that they could connect, because I knew that, you know, out of the 5 people I said this to, they 4 out of the 5 really connected to this part of the story. And I had, you know, basically tweaked it and practiced it. And the only way to do that is to really hashtag below, comment below, hashtag embrace imperfection, and to really just try it and tweak along the way. You don't have to get it perfect straight up, because you're not going to. And I'm going to improve it over time as well. And also, just saying it out loud made me even more aware of my work. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds fantastic. And now I'm going to be able to add to my marketing copy for my website, or for the way I'm going to explain it to future collectors as well. And I wouldn't have had that just sitting alone in my studio thinking about my way of doing it, right? Because I was thrown into it and I had to show up for it. That's what made me be able to talk about it better and connect better, and became easier. And like, it's the rusty, what do I call it, the rusty tap, you know, but once it's, the water's gushing and there's that lubrication from the water, it's a lot easier for it to flow. And if you're talking about resistance and flow with your creativity, whether or not whatever it is that your creative projects are, it's only by starting and being okay with the awkwardness and the hard and the like ugly and the didn't quite, you know, clunkiness of it, embracing that imperfection, then that's when you tap into flow and find your way and find the words and really understand your own story as well. And that's a great value that people don't even think about, right? And that's why I wrote that post a few days back with people about, you know, people saying to me, oh Brenda, you're just lucky you're really good at selling, and I'm like, I'm not selling, I'm just having a conversation with people. And that's something that maybe it is a skill that you could learn, but you, just like any skill, you just practice, and that's how you get better. And you're not seeing the many awkward conversations that just passed me by and I tried to make and connect and it didn't connect. And so you're only seeing the good stuff when you're not seeing all the work that went underneath that. Yes, I'm gonna keep an eye on the time so I'm not here for like hours. So know your answers. So yes, future self Brenda, know your answers, know your story, embrace the imperfection, hashtag that below if you resonate with that, especially for anything that you're feeling stuck in your creative work right now, or just your creativity. Know that you have to embrace imperfection before you can really find your flow, and to really embrace resistance as well. And I do lots of videos on embrace resistance. You can check it out in my video section on my Facebook page, or if you join Muse Mama, my membership, where it's a space, a village I call it. It takes a village to raise a kid. It also takes a village to raise the kind of ambitious creative mama, woman who you want to be, who are muses. That's why they're called Muse Mamas, right? We're Muse Mamas because we are inspired and we want to do things that are going to inspire the world. And so I do deeper trainings, and you get access to my creativity resources in there. You know, like there's my deliberate doodles courses in there. I'm going to be doing creativity catalyst in there. Anyway, hashtag Muse Mama if you're interested. If that resonates with you, you want to know more about it, I will put it in there. Actually, let's see if I can put it in there now. Yes, I can. The link is there. All right, there you go. All right. So part of knowing my story, another lesson I want to talk about is allowing space for people who, to, you know, have that awkward encounter and that embracing that imperfection and there was a few times that people, you know, we had awkward encounters and awkward conversations, and then they kind of left, but then they came back later. And so even though I felt like, oh, I shared my story and the inspiration behind all my things, and that felt really awkward, and then they didn't deepen that conversation with me, but yet it planted a seed and they were able to come back and they actually did connect. And so even though I felt like, oh, that was weird and that was awkward, oh well, I'll let it go. And I think the letting it go also is part of embracing that imperfection, right? Surrendering to it, allowing what is, and not feeling so desperate and attached to a certain outcome, and just like allowing it to be, and then therefore giving yourself that space for things to come back to you if they're meant to. And also then you can also then just release that attachment so that you can move on to the next project or the next thing. And that's really hard, and I totally get that. So because part of it was two things I really wanted to remember for this as a lesson, was to allow space for people to just go, like to see the work and just go, but at the same time never to assume that that is a lost connection. I don't like the idea of it being a lost sale, and you should definitely, you know, try and close the sale. I just feel like, oh, that's too harsh. But to allow the space, but at the same time not to assume that it's a lost connection. So therefore making sure I still connect and gives them that opportunity to connect with me and actually say hi and to make conversation if I can, and really inviting them into that conversational space, as opposed to just standing awkwardly by there waiting for them to make that initial contact. Because even though I'm an introvert, some of them are introverts too, and they're shy and they don't, and they feel like they can't talk to me and stuff. And so finding that balance of allowing them space, but also then making sure I do the invitation and really make that effort to connect as well. And I think this lesson for you, whatever it is that you're working on, I'm sure there's a part in your life where there are some things you need to surrender and release and let go, but at the same time not assume that everything is lost forever, and therefore you don't actually bother trying to connect at the same time. You got to find that balance. if that makes sense. Hashtag allow and surrender if you resonate with this, and also so that it helped me mark this part of this lessons as well. Allowance and surrender, right? But don't miss the opportunity, I guess. Don't miss that window to be able to connect as a way of an invitation. I like to think of it as an invitation to connect and to deepen, and to, even if it's just to make a new friend and just to let them see that you're a real person, and to connect them with the art as well. What's another lesson I can share? I'm probably going to share all of this inside Muse Mama because it's like way too long. It's probably going to be like an hour thing. So if you're a Muse Mama, hashtag Muse Mama below if you want to learn more about it. And I've written in one of the comments as well, there's details there if you want to read more about it and learn more about it, or you can find out about it on my website, brendamangalore.com/Muse Mama, one word. You can read what's included and what's all that stuff in there. It's probably the really, it's like buying me, I don't know, 3 coffees for the month, and you get to hang out and have access to all my creativity resources and my booklets, and get member perks, you know, like discounts and stuff, and specials and first dibs to my artwork if that's your thing, or just to learn from me and just to hang out with daily prompts and just be around other creative mamas who totally understand your juggle to weave your art and your work and your biz and your life with your babies, right? No matter how little, if they're still breastfeeding like me, or if they're already up at school and doing their own thing, we reach that stage where you know you're ready for the next chapter, and you're just trying to find the courage and the clarity of knowing what that is. Sometimes you already know what it is and you just need the courage to like step forward. That's what Muse Mama is for. And I wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff, like show up on here even though I don't feel like it, or show up for my art fair even though it was scary and uncomfortable and outside my comfort zone, if I did not surround myself with a community of amazing women who are ambitious and creative and striving for their next chapter as well, and to go towards their calling that they are being called to do, and to be the muses that they're being called to do, right? As a muse, you inspire other people, but you inspire other people by what you do, and then you get inspired in return. And that's why I wanted that space. I wanted to hang out with women who I could be an inspiration to and be a lighthouse to, but at the same time also they inspire me by the amazing work that they're doing. Anyway, get back to my lesson. The third one, is it the third? Are we up to the third one? 1, 2, 3, fourth one is to listen. One of the things I really learnt about connecting with people and stuff like that is the listening to their story, and that's part of allowing space, which is really nice how it's flowing together. Not just listening to their story and their conversation and their replies and stuff, but really listening to the question behind the question. Like I could see sometimes it's from an artist's point of view. I know that it's a most commonly asked question, like what's your inspiration, or where did you get your ideas? But really, I think sometimes I could really feel this, and I notice this because there's a pattern, and also because I love the stuff in between, is the question isn't really the idea stuff. I mean, that was great, and I could tell that you know, oh yeah, that's nice to know, but really I think deep down what the question was more like permission for them to love what they love, even though it's not what they're used to, or they don't understand the work, and they feel like they needed permission from me to not understand the work, or to interpret it in their own way, or permission to just love it without having to buy it, or just permission, basically permission for them to fully express themselves in their own way, even though it didn't feel like it was proper or good enough, or it might be offensive, I don't even know why, in whatever way, and that's totally fine. Like it's but listening to that and be able to hold that space for them, and to allow them to express that, and to actually say to them, hey, you know what, you actually are creative. The fact that you're here appreciating art, like the fact that you're here on my page and watching this, if you're still watching this, say hi. Make sure if you're watching the replay that you comment below hashtag yeah replay, so I know that you're on. Just experiencing this and appreciating artwork is part of your creativity. It's actually an expression of your creativity. You wouldn't be attracted to it, you wouldn't be inspired by it if a part of you inside isn't creative, and you need to acknowledge that and to recognize it, and and cultivate that connection. And if you keep dismissing it by keep saying, I'm not creative, I just, admire other people's work, then eventually you're just not even going to appreciate other people's work because you're suppressing that creativity. So don't do that to yourself. But so the lesson really is about listening to the conversation and the feedback. And sometimes the listening is about hearing the words in between, or the question that's beneath the actual question that they're asking. So that's 4 things, and I think I will end it here because it's almost going to be 30 minutes. And actually, no, I need to share one more before I forget. The biggest thing I learned from the art fair as well, and I knew this going in. So besides the gratitude, let's recap. The first one was energy is everything with the art fair, right? And coming at it with this sense of gratitude, and this applies to all of life in whatever situation that you're in. If you can really fully show up in this gratitude energy, it really makes a difference in not only the way you show up, but the way you gain value from the situation. And sometimes that can be hard, but you can really generate that even if you don't feel like it. And I did that with only 3-4 hours sleep because my baby wasn't sleeping through a night. Conveniently, the 2 nights before, I had to bump in and really show up for opening night. So I'm like, if I can do that with a breastfeeding baby at home, I'm pretty sure you can do that too. And it's just a matter of choosing that for yourself and allowing yourself to have that. And the second lesson I learned was about knowing your story, knowing your answers, and being able to share that and making that conversation with people who are connecting with you. And then the third one from that was about allowing space for people and holding that space and giving them a chance for them to come back. So there's that detachment to a certain outcome. So releasing, allowing and surrender. That's where the hashtag allow and surrender. And then, but at the same time, not just assuming that it's a lost connection, and to always be inviting people to deepen that connection with you, whether that is clients and customers, or whether it's just relationships, or just with your work, with your creativity, right? To be detached from the outcome that it has to be perfect first go, and surrender to what comes, and learning and embracing imperfection was another hashtag. Comment below. Hashtag embracing perfection is my big thing. But also to still invite people, to invite that connection in, to still never assume that you've lost that connection, but to continue to invite and connect deeper. So in my case with the art fair, there were people who just walked by and I said hi and then they just left. And so allowing that to go and not letting that make me feel down and feel like it was a personal rejection. But because some of them came back. But the thing is, I still said hi to everyone. I still tried to connect and still gave out postcards because I didn't want to assume that it was a lost connection. And obviously I didn't do this perfectly. And there's probably some that I didn't get to, and I, didn't get to connect deeper, but I didn't want to make that assumption, right? Because I noticed that when I lost that gratitude energy, when I lost that excitement energy, I didn't want to connect as much because I was feeling all like protective of myself. But once I was like allow, release, surrender, then it was easier to still not assume and then still invite people into the conversation and to connect deeper with the work, and then great things happen from that. And the other one from that allowance space is to really listen to the conversation beneath the actual question that's being asked, and that's part of holding space for people as well. And I think this is for yourself as well, actually, for how you show up, because when you can listen to yourself, this is why journaling is such a great thing, where you're writing your thoughts down and you write to a point where then you can really discover the question and the statements and the beliefs that are beneath what you think is the actual issue or the question or the belief, and giving yourself that space to really listen to what the issue is, or the hurt that you're feeling, or the fears that you're dealing with, and the doubts. And this applies for resistance and flow and creativity as well. So that was that. And then the last one is from the art fair. Lessons from the art fair is the value that I got that was more than just making sales and getting new collectors. For me, it was, the deep connection, not deep, although hopefully I made new artist friends, and it was nice to connect to a community of other women, in this case, and guys too. to know that I'm not crazy in my artistic nature, but also to hear their different stories and the way they see the world, and learning lessons from that and making that connection, which I wouldn't get just holed up in my studio alone. Getting feedback from people, from both buyers and non-buyers, about my work, and the value I really got from that was about permission to use my voice and to really show up the way I do want to show up, and that actually people do enjoy the work, and the work that I had allowed and fully expressed it the way I wanted to express it, even though I felt like, oh, no one's going to want that artwork. They loved it, and it just shows again that energy of full expression and allowing and surrendering, and but still giving yourself that permission, you know, to really express, which is why I made Muse Mom in the first place, so that you can find that courage, not only for clarity of next step, but also so that you can fully express whatever your next chapter is calling you to do. And so yes, so that's what I got from it, and just connections from both a social media point of view and with potential stockists or galleries and all of that stuff. And I knew that's what I wanted beyond just making sales in this art fair. It was really to make myself seen, to really show up, to really put myself out there. That's what I guess is the cliche. And the benefits from that was not just, oh, I made some sales, or oh yes, I met some collectors, but also like knowing and the confidence that I have permission that I'm giving myself really to show up in my art the way I like to show up, and to show up as myself, and to show up as my crazy self in my personality, and to create the work I want to create, and to actually go bigger and better. And even though I don't know why I need permission for that, but sometimes you do, you know, because you question everything, right? You doubt yourself. And also just feedback on the artwork itself, and also to reaffirm certain things that I've been thinking around in my head, but because I spoke it out loud, right? But speaking about my story, back to I think point 2, about the lesson that I learned, because then I was getting clarity around, oh, this is what my inspiration is, and being able to articulate that. Because sometimes as women, we just work things out when we talk it out better. Even though that didn't make sense. We work it out better when we talk it out. I guess that makes more sense. So yeah, so those are one of the values I learned, and those are the lessons I learned from the art fair. It's not all of it. I think I'm going to show up in my Muse Mama, although I need to take a nap right now, and to honor my nap needing needs. And I hope that that was valuable, and I hope that you'll take this not just for your creative practice and for your creativity, but for your next chapter, and to show up for yourself really in the way you connect with your creativity, because I assume that is why you're here. And the link to Muse Mama, if that's something that you're interested in, that's my membership program, where basically I wanted to just like throw all kinds of amazing stuff in there and really be generous with my teachings and sharing behind the scenes, random thoughts that I don't show up here in my Facebook page, even though I'm pretty open here anyway, and have access to my artwork and have access to my creativity resources. The link is in the comments I've put in there, otherwise comment below #MuseMama if you'd like to learn more, and I will see you next time. Just know that you can dare to take your big dreams seriously, take the next step today, and know that life is too short not to live it in full color. And I'm here to be your lighthouse, to go after your next chapter, and to live and to inspire you to live a life of joyful purpose, because that is what you're being called to do. And when you do that, you fully show up as the person you're meant to be, and you bring all of that back to your mamahood, especially when you've got babies, no matter how big or little they are. And I will see you next time. Thank you for being here, and if you're here to the end, to you, make sure you #all the way, so that I know you stayed all the way, and I hope you gained so much from this. I will see you next time. Bye.